I think, I have never seen any market in the world where competition comes in and actually it destroys the market. Typically, competition only expands market, and competition actually creates more opportunity. And I think some of these brands that you mentioned, have been here now for 5 years plus, right? And if you really look at over the last 5 years, and most of these brands come with tremendous amount of expertise on the women's Western wear business, which is, yes, one of the biggest potentials to grow, and it's quite clear. If you look at the history of fashion in India, fashion has originated in India and the organized form, and this session, the IFF, typically had landed up focusing on the menswear brands, and because we were typically had only menswear brands, none of us were really into the women's wear business. Women's wear business was, Western wear business did not exist when this, the first IFF happened. The ethnic wear business was an unorganized business meant for boutiques or the traditional retailers. But look at the journey that has happened thereafter. Clearly, the women's wear is becoming a very, very important space. Majority of the departmental stores today, women's wear is become the #1 fashion category, or at par with the menswear, depending on what the scale is. And big chunk of that has been driven by the private brand programs that these companies have been running themselves. And that's because there's not been enough brands. And then we have seen, of course, Indian brands also emerge. We've got success stories in terms of what And has been able to achieve, or the 109 and the Kazos, etc. So quite a lot of them have emerged. And a lot of them have built confidence to sell to consumers based on what the consumers have been. First they were traveling overseas, then you have more, when these brands open up in India, of course they expose themselves to many more customers. And those customers start relating to it. As she rightly mentioned, when I see somebody else wear something, that's what I wish to wear. So what these brands do is they open up opportunities. The opportunities of, if you look at how the last couple of years the business on dresses, has become. So if you in the Western wear space, when life started here, it was kind of denim and t-shirts. Then came denim and woven tops. Today is dresses, spaghettis, etc., etc. It just goes on, and it's just an amazing explosion which is happening. What these brands also do is the fact that you have to really work harder, right? It just can't be a 50% effort in business won't work. In fact, if you want to compete with them, there has to be even a larger effort. And there's a larger opportunity. And I think the bigger opportunity. So quite a lot of these global brands, not all of them adapt. It's difficult for their model to adapt, right? Whereas, do we believe the fact that our weather conditions, our color preferences, etc., they are not going to be just mapped by what is happening in Europe or what's happening in any other part of the world. I think India needs its own adaptation, and that's where the Indian brands has tremendous scope. So while they create the awareness, they open up the market. I think it's for us to look at as an industry to see what more we can do to explore this opportunity, multiply the opportunity, because clearly there will be a multiplying effect on the opportunity.
But do you agree that the Indian women's wardrobe is becoming more and more Western, and the Indian dresses are losing their share of wardrobe?
I don't think so. And I think maybe, we have an audience out here. It's a fashion-forward audience. Let's for sure that we are in. But if you really go out in the market, so let's case a case of the brand W, which was what was introduced earlier. Every one of us think very simply, right? Brand W is actually an Indian wear brand, right? But what is it really offering today? Unusuals are basically nothing more than fusion, right? It's about having Indian aesthetics merged with the Western aesthetics, combined together, and here you have the new generation of Indian wear. Right? So I think that is where the market is available also. I think it's a great I think it's a transition market, right? Are we going to get westernized? I think it's a long journey, right? If you look at the size of the market in India, size of the number of people that exist, it is not going to be that simple that I don't see ourselves becoming a Hong Kong or a China in the next 5 years, where you don't have anything called traditional Chinese wear left now, right? So, but the good news for us, when it comes to traditional functions, we are very traditional, and the fashion in our tradition has also become unbelievable. The opportunity that is offered, and so many of our boutique players and so many of our traditional retailers have really migrated themselves and have made a great business for them out there.
Wonderful.
So the opportunity continues to be very
Let-
large.